When I first started in videography back in 2019, I began to assemble a list of things that I knew I needed to start going out there and making work. I knew I needed a camera, I needed lenses, I needed some lights, I needed audio. But one thing that I did a lot of research around was a gimbal. I just remember looking at so many other videographers talking about different types of gimbals and how they help stabilize your footage. And actually the very first gimbal that I used was a Weebill Lab made by Zhiyun. You see, Zhiyun, they've been in the gimbal market since 2016, where they started with the Weebill series, and now they kind of have two trajectories. They have the Weebill series, which I kind of feel like is more for like the entry level, semi-professional, and then they also have the Crane series, which is for honestly semi-professional to professional. The gimbals have much bigger payloads and a little bit more expensive. They do some more things, but ultimately they have these two trajectories. On the Weebill side of things, they have just released a brand new gimbal, and it is called the Zhiyun Cinepeer. We're going to talk about it right now. Now, before we get started, I do want to say a big thank you to Zhiyun. They are the sponsor of today's video, and I do want to let you guys know that they did send me this product. I've been using this gimbal myself for a couple of weeks now, just so that I can make sure that I'm giving you guys a fair and honest review so that you can ultimately make the decision of whether or not you want to include this in your gear kit for yourself. But let's talk a little bit about the gimbal itself. And the first thing that I noticed when I pulled this out of the box was that it was really small. It kind of feels like one of those smartphone gimbals, but it has an enormous payload. This thing can hold over 6 pounds, and I used this when I went to Jamaica last week. It was able to hold my FX3, a zoom lens, and even like a little point and shoot light that I just attached to the top of my FX3 as well. So with 6.5 pounds of payload capability, this thing is going to be able to hold pretty much anything besides like a huge cinema camera like the FX6 or the brand new C400 from Sony. Or sorry, Canon. Now, along with that, the biggest thing that I care about when it comes to gimbal, besides the motors, is the battery. And this thing has an enormous battery, and it says that this thing is lab tested to last 16 hours. Now, I took this with me, like I said, to Jamaica for a destination wedding, and I did not charge this thing one time. I shot for probably 3 hours on Friday, maybe like 8 hours on Saturday, and then maybe like another 6 or 8 hours on Sunday. So well over the 16 hours that it said that it could do, and it still has like 10% left on the battery. So that 16-hour battery life that they're marketing it as is definitely a true statement, and I've tested that on multiple occasions myself. Now, just to give you a bunch of other stats about this thing, it weighs a little bit more than 2 pounds, so still super lightweight. It has almost a 1-inch screen on it. It's an OLED screen, and on there you're able to make a bunch of adjustments to the gimbal itself. Now, it does have a few customizable buttons around the gimbal so that you can manipulate some things here. There's a little scrolly wheel on the back where you can use to either manipulate your camera settings or different axes on the gimbal to move specifically however you want as well. And then one of the big things that I love about this gimbal is you can connect your camera via Bluetooth to the gimbal. So, you know, typically with a gimbal, you have to connect the little short cable from the gimbal to your camera into the multi-port or USB port or whatever. Not with this gimbal. You can connect directly to this thing via Bluetooth, and I did that. Didn't really notice much change with Bluetooth being connected and it like draining the battery or anything like that. So honestly, an absolutely amazing thing that they have added in for us to be able to just connect our cameras directly to the gimbal itself. The biggest thing that I want to show you guys, and I'm really excited about this. Okay, let me lock this down. Okay, so this thing actually is able to switch horizontal to vertical mode. So typically your camera would be sitting on here like this, and all you got to do is click this off, and now I click this on, and I can mount my camera to be on here vertically. And I think just being able to have that flexibility to switch to a different aspect ratio, especially in the times of social media where we not only have to worry about getting horizontal content but also vertical content, them adding this extra little plate attachment so that we can do that really easily is honestly a huge selling point. Now, if you're anything like me, you probably want to see some test footage of me using this thing with some of my own cameras, and that's exactly what I'm going to do next. But before I let you go, I do want to mention to you guys that there is going to be a link to the specific gimbal that I'm talking about, and it'll take you directly over to Zhiyun's store. And I also will say that the gimbal at the time of launch and the time of me posting this video is 10% off, and then they've given me an additional 10% off for all of my viewers. So you can get 20% off. This gimbal is going to be under $200 by the time you put in all the additional codes. So be sure that if this is a gimbal that looks like it'll be perfect for you, click that link down in my description box and get almost 50 bucks off of this gimbal. So with that being said, enjoy some clips from Montego Bay, Jamaica with the Zhiyun Cinepeer. I've never been the same and I never wanna. Everybody die in the heat of summer. Hey, girl, I wanna taste the past the fucked up. Been a couple months since I see my mama. No, I never been the same and I never wanna. Tryna manifest a better tomorrow. Yeah, I ain't scared to die, scared of getting older. Scared to hear you lie.